round's gone. We're going to cap things off. Our tips for round 15 of the AFL season. As we talked about earlier, it is going to be a freaking bloodbath. We got all the top 8 teams playing each other in the first 4 games of the round, I believe. In fact, maybe not quite. Maybe, no, one of them isn't. Or a couple of them aren't. But, scratch that. We got the top 8 teams playing each other. That's all that matters here. I just have fact-checked myself a little bit. Is what it is. The schedule makers could have done a better job, but I forgive them nonetheless. But this round, if the last round wasn't a pain in the ass a tip, this round definitely is. I'm still a couple games behind first place. Donnie caught up to me after an abysmal round on my behalf when it comes to tipping. Let's not talk about it because we don't need to get into the specifics. New round, new day, new opportunities here. And I still do have for you guys my bold tip of the round. And shoot, honestly, maybe a few of them here. So we're going to see on this one.
This is the round it could potentially happen because there's so many close games that
even
some of them really aren't even upsets. That's the crazy part about it.
This round is just insane. But starts off, it's going to be Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions. This is one where Brisbane comes into here as a fairly large margin underdog, not only on the bet on the odd from the odds makers, but from the tipsters as well. This was an interesting one for me, but I'm taking the Brisbane Lions in this one.
I'm with you only because is that May's been out for several weeks, so I want to know what his fitness is.
I
Max
just think
gone
that
is
Brisbane can outscore Melbourne. It's almost as simple as that.
well,
I think
I 100% agree with you with that. Like that is, but I'm let me dive in just a little bit on it, a little bit more, just to kind of go off how I'm seeing this. Brisbane hasn't played the MCG very often, so they've lost their last 9 straight. I take nothing into that at all. I look at it like this: Melbourne. One of the ways that they get on top of most people is the Jackson Gone combination. Well, Gone's out for a month. McInerney now only really has to focus on Jackson. Is he as athletic and run around the field as much as Jackson? No, but he's bigger, he's stronger, and I think he'll be able to dominate, especially some of the throw-ins that I think Brisbane's going to get a little more of the footy out of the contest, which I think may affect Melbourne a lot because it's going to make their defenders have to defend one-on-one a lot more than they probably expected. Danaher, Cameron, Hipwood, all healthy, all playing well. Who does who get? May will most likely take either Hipwood or Danaher. Lever will get the other one. My thing is attack the guy that Lever has because Lever wants to be off and be the intercept marker. If he's got to play one-on-one, he is at a disadvantage. Cameron's got to find a way to get crumbs. And if he can get crumbs, he's got to kick goals. If he kicks goals, Brisbane can win this game. That is the $1 million way to beat if they can put points on the board, put scoreboard pressure on the board. Melbourne is gettable. I'm going to tip Brisbane also as well, just because I just think where Brisbane can get Melbourne, they have strength. They have a lot of really good players in those particular spots. So I'm going to tip what some would say the upset, but I don't think this is as big an upset as some people would say. I got the Brisbane Lions here.
I love it. We're going to see how that works out. Next up is going to be the Western Bulldogs and the Hawthorn Hawks. I definitely don't want to count Hawthorn out on this one, but I am going to ride the hot hand with the Doggies.
I'm going to tip the Doggies, but I'm a little leery on this one because Tim English is out due to late onset concussion symptoms. So he's in concussion protocol. So he'll be out for at least this game for sure. My thing is, again, the Doggies' weakness is their defense. Their strength is their midfield. Their somewhat weakness, but I think could become a strength in the next few weeks, is their offense, because it sounds like Bruce could be back as early as this week. He had a nice little run. I still think he's in the VFL this week, along with Lockie Hunter, who's back from his little absence for mental health.
Okay.
So I'm going to tip the Doggies, but this is the wait and see one, because if the Hawks can stay in this, put a little bit of fear. The Hawks have a shot, like
Yeah,
legitimately
absolutely.
they're
Yep.
in this. I know at least on my tipping thing has 92-8, 92 for the
Same
doggies,
here.
8 for the Hawks. I seriously thought about the Hawks, especially when I found out Tim English was out of this game, because that's a massive equalization for the Hawks in the midfield battle when it comes to the ruck contest. Because if English was there, he could have dominated and given the Doggies first footy a lot more than the Hawks. This equalizes the ruck battle out, which I think equalizes the midfield battle, which I think could equalize the game as a whole. I'm going to tip the Doggies, but this one is close. I think this is under 2 goals. I think this comes down late in the fourth quarter. I think the Doggies edge it because they have just enough firepower to score. But this is going to have some Western Bulldogs fans on heart palpitations as close as this potentially could be.
Yeah, I won't be too surprised about that one. Man, the Hawthorn Hawks sometimes just have that really great way of being that thorn in your side, putting the thorn in Hawthorn in that one. But next game, Donnie, bold tip. For the first time since round 4 of the 2022 AFL season, the West Coast Eagles are going to get 4 points because even though Essendon may be riding high from their big win this round, the West Coast Eagles are having reinforcements being shipped onto the roster this time. It's going at Optus, and also Essendon is still not that fantastic of a team. So the West Coast Eagles, they get it done. They get it done this round.
Oh, I seriously did think about this. I really did. But here's how I'm gonna counteract it. If Jeremy McGovern was still playing for West Coast this week, he's been in hospital a couple of times, broken ribs, had to have surgery. He's out for at least a few weeks. Mm-hmm. If Jeremy McGovern was playing in this game, I'd have tipped West Coast, and I'd tip West Coast without even thinking twice. But that is a huge loss on the defensive side, and they still don't have Nick Natanui. So I think Draper in the ruck battle, I think will even things out. Parrish will be back. Yes, they lose McGrath, but they get Parrish back. I think Essendon just has enough. I think West Coast. I think this should be a week early for their renaissance. Like yeah. I think it's coming. I think they're beating teams. Coming. Exactly. Like it's kind of weird to say. I think it's coming. I just think we're a week early. I think the McGovern injury kind of sets them back a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yes, they've got some good ins. Sounds like Liam Ryan will be back this week. Nice. But I don't like that injury because I think that injury makes it harder for Barras because now he's got to try to guard Peter Wright with no help. Yeah. And that is a horrible matchup for the West Coast Eagles. So I'm going to tip Essendon in this one, but this is a dandy for a 16 versus 18. This is an intriguing game.
It could actually be must-watch TV on this one, which is
and it's a Friday night game.
Yeah, but no offense to anything, I'm not waking up at 4:30 in the morning for this game. I'm just not. I'll catch the highlights, but we'll see if
the issue I run into is that both of those games will be running at the same time, so I got to decide which one I'm going to watch and which one I'm going to watch on replay.
I think one is going to be
I'll probably watch the Doggies Hawthorn game because that's the first one.
That's some finals implications on there too.
And exactly.
I'm not sure if the Eagles and Dons are fighting for a spot.
It'll still be a good game. Yeah. I'll probably still watch it, but it is one of those where it's like I'll probably watch the Doggies Hawthorn game because I think that might be a little more intriguing. Mm-hmm. Again, as you said, it's got finals implications on it.
Yes, it does. And another game with some big time finals implications on it is the Freo Dockers taking on Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Tippers and odds makers agree that Freo are the favorites in this one. And I agree with him. I think this is going to be a dangerously close game. But man, Don, you remind me. I remember because I think this is my first year getting into footy. There's this giant drama with after the siren goal. Was that Freo and Carlton?
Jack Noons at Optus Stadium, getting the controversial free kick, even though he probably shouldn't have been him. he buries it and beats Fremantle after the siren shot.
See, I
So
had no
these
idea
these
why that
two
was
these two
controversial.
have
I just knew
history.
it was a nightmare
Yep,
for those fans.
these two have history for sure. I'm going to tip Fremantle also as well on this one, and it's just because of the vulnerabilities on defense. It sounds like Matt Taberner should be back for the Fremantle Dockers, which
Mhm.
I think for Carlton, that is the worst possible news you could possibly get. You probably might not have minded the mosquito fleet with the occasional throw in of Fife, but if Taberner comes in, that gives you a big body guy that you just don't have very many guys to guard him,
Mhm.
which is only going to make it that much harder. Only going to make it that much harder. So I'm going to have Fremantle in this one, but Carlton can score, so Carlton can stay in
Yes,
this.
they can.
I'm fascinated to see who gets Mackay and who gets Kerno of their defenders. I'm fascinated by this because Pierce usually takes their biggest, tallest forward.
Mhm.
Does he take Mackay or does he take Kerno? And then who gets the other? So that'll be a fascinating to see the matchups in the defense on the defensive side for Fremantle's who takes who and how do they do.
It's a great point right there. We're going to get a lot of answers or a lot of questions answered really early in that game, so that's going to be a lot of fun there. Next game we're going to step into, head on over to the MCG, where the Geelong Cats are somehow a home team in this one. Fixture makers kind of screwed them. Definitely a two very different type of grounds is this one between MCG and the GMHBA Stadium. But nonetheless, Geelong Cats and Richmond Tigers. This is going to be a damn good game, Donnie. I think
Mm-hmm.
if we want to talk about it after the siren goal, we might as well get one here because the Richmond Tigers are only a 4-set underdog. This is a really hard one to tip. I'm going with Geelong, but man, I this might be game of the round for me.
This one made me double take so many times, especially when
Right?
I found out it was the
If only it
MCG
was
because
at the GMHBA,
but
it would be so much
but
easier to tip.
yes and no. It would neutralize Richmond's pressure game a tiny bit
Mm-hmm.
because it'd be a lot easier to get out of their off defensive 50. The wider ground actually normally would have hurt Geelong, but Geelong's been kind of playing a little bit quicker footy, which I think can help them attack this stingy, miserly Richmond defense that occasionally can be quite a pain to try to beat.
Well, maybe not even just recent, but Geelong, it really feels like if their offense feels different watching it this year because well, I
Oh, it
mean,
is.
we all know
It
it's
is.
the kick mark,
Yep.
get to the make entrance, kick a goal. They're playing like a. It's almost like I'm watching Brisbane in a different colored Guernsey. It's great.
I don't know about Brisbane. That's a
Sorry,
little
maybe in terms
extensive.
of pacing. In terms of pacing, it
Yeah.
feels
Geelong's one of those teams that when they're on, they're on.
yeah.
But when they're off, sometimes they can be very off.
Mm.
So I'm gonna tip Geelong in this one. I think Hawkins and Cameron are gonna be matchup nightmares because Grimes is gonna have to pick one. Tarrant may have to take the other, even though Tarrant's on an injury cloud with a broken hand.
Hmm.
Bolta's out with a hamstring injury, so you don't have that big body guy to move back. I don't think they have that secondary big body to be able to handle Jezza Cameron.
Mm.
I think Liam Baker might get the fun of trying to take out Tyson Stengel. So that'll be a fascinating matchup to see. And it's just with the new DeConning kid, I think he'll be able to. I think he'll probably get the Lynch matchup. So
Hmm.
I just I like the matchups on Geelong's side more than I like the matchups that would be on Richmond's side.
Yeah.
So I just think Geelong's got enough. Again, the ground is going to even out because it's going to give more Richmond Tigers fans the ability to get into the ground, which is going to be a major disadvantage to the Cats.
Yeah.
But the Cats have been a team that they've been able to kind of weather the storm. So I'm going to tip the Cats in this one. This is going to be a dandy.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a really really fun game. I am super excited about it. But going into the last few games of the round, we got the Sydney Swans and the St. Kilda Saints, bottom two teams in the current top 8 standings. Sydney needs to make a statement. They need to make a statement bad, and I think they should be able to get it done against the Saints in this one.
I'm This is a game of which team do you trust? Which team do you trust of two teams that are not playing well? I'm gonna go Sydney just because I think Sydney has been a little bit more confident,
Uh-huh.
and I
That's
think
the way to
St.
put it.
Kilda is a little rattled.
Mm.
Like I don't I like if I'm Sydney, as I stated earlier, I think it was more on Port playing up to their ability than it was Sydney playing badly. I think Sydney looked like they played badly because Port played so well. Like I don't
Gotcha.
think
Yeah.
Sydney had a horrible game. I just think they ran into a buzzsaw.
Port had the game of their
Think
season,
where
essentially.
where St. Kilda, they were insipid, they were uninspired, which is fascinating because they were playing for a fallen hero in the Danny Spud Froley game, which
Yeah.
is kind of an indictment a little bit on the playing group a little
Mm.
bit. Um, I just that can seep into a squad. They do get Jack Steele back, which I think is a big addition. But I like the way Sydney plays in the midfield. I think they'll be able to balance it out. Really, I don't, after King, there really isn't a dangerous forward. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that'll help Patty McCartan be able to sit off and intercept Mark, which I think helps the Swans defense be able to repel out of defensive 50.
Yeah.
And I just don't, Dougal Howard will get the Buddy Franklin matchup. But if Isaac Heaney's playing as well as he can, Papley can get a few goals, pop up here. Parker can shift forward. I think the Swans have enough firepower to be able to win this game. But this really is kind of the booster for one of these teams, because whoever wins this can kind of will get that little puff of fresh air underneath their wings to be able to maybe push them up into the finals, into solidifying themselves a little bit. Where the loser, honestly, they sit there and now all the question marks are, can they stay in the finals?
It the loser is going to have a lot of explaining to do in this game. Especially, it depends
Got a
on the
lot
final outcome
explaining
as
to
well.
do.
Especially if either team loses by like 30, that is
Yeah,
if it's a close
if
game.
it's a big loss, it's even worse.
Exactly. It's oh, I don't want to be the opposing coach in front of the media after, or the losing coach in front of the media after this one. There's going to be some tough questions that they are going to be answering. Next game, I was almost tempted to just pick North Melbourne for my bold tip of the round. I didn't go through with it because I just don't believe in them. But I'll take Adelaide in this one over at
I
Bloodstone.
legitimately, I have heard some podcasters that have tipped North Melbourne to win that game because of the fact it's down in Hobart. Like legitimately, I have seen people tip North Melbourne in that game against Adelaide because it is in Hobart.
I
So
can see why. I just don't want
I'm
to.
gonna tip Adelaide because again, I think Adelaide's a team that when they're on, they're on. When they're off, I don't think when they're off, they're as bad as North has been playing. So I think Adelaide's got a little too much there. Taylor
Yeah.
Walker, I think, will have a great game. I'm going to tip the Crowies in this one.
Hey, Walker kicks 5 and makes you the team of the round. That's my prediction for that one. I know I've said that before. It'll be right eventually. If as long as I keep on saying it, right?
You're going to wish it into existence, right?
Exactly. No matter how many years it takes me. But we'll go. The second last game we got Collingwood and the GWS Giants. I would love to tip GWS in this one, but I cannot. I will tip. You know what? As long as it's a close game and Mason Cox kicks, 3 goals, I'll be cool. So, dream scenario here, Donnie. Mason Cox kicks 3. The Giants win this game. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But I'll tip to Collingwood. I think it'll be a close game though.
I'm gonna say this, and I mean this seriously. If this game was a Giant stadium, I'd tip the Giants in this one. Legitimately, I'm gonna tip Collingwood because the game is at the MCG.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fan base will help kind of bring up the mood a little bit, because I think there's still some Collingwood fans that Jordan DeGoey will be a big loss. He'll be the biggest hole since a black hole. I don't think DeGoey is as big a loss as some people think it is. I think this team is playing
Yeah,
really,
I'm with
really
you.
well. I like their style. GWS, again, kind of like I said last week, their wins are against bad teams. They're not winning against good teams. So this is not a bad team.
They're almost winning against some good teams.
They're
That counts for
playing
something,
well.
right?
Again, Western
Maybe
Bulldogs, I don't think they're as good a team as they were last year because
Brisbane
of their
Lions.
defensive
All right.
frailties. So, but I'm gonna look at it like this a little bit, is that I'm not sleeping on GWS. I think GWS is there. I just think Carlton, Collingwood, I'm getting the rivals mixed up. I think the
Oh, you're
Collingwood
going
people
to
are
get
losing their
destroyed.
minds right now.
Oh, no.
I just think Collingwood is just strong enough they'll be able to handle, but GWS, I think, is going to test them. GWS is going to make them have to think a little bit in this game. Collingwood wins this, but the Giants, I think, are in this into the fourth quarter.
You know, I'd be okay with that. You know, you take what you can get in this one. Oh, man. But this last game is going to be real interesting when it comes to finals implications because it is Port Adelaide and the Gold Coast Suns, two teams arguably fighting, they're a loss away from being booted from the finals. So this is going to be a really insane game. I don't like the odds on this one necessarily. About $1.40 for Port and about $3 for the Gold Coast. I thought the Gold Coast would be in this one a little bit more. Tipsters are definitely going with the Port on this one, 87% according to the AFL website as well. I really want to tip Gold Coast, but also Port Adelaide, their form recently has been real solid.
I'm again, this is another one of those. The venue helps me a little bit,
Yeah,
make this a little bit of an
the
easier
Oval's a
tip.
tough one.
If this was up at Metricon, I'd probably would be tipping Gold Coast because it would even out the warmer climate. I think would even everything out a little bit, make the ball a little bit slippery, which I think would help Gold Coast in their style.
Yeah.
The way I saw, if Port plays the game that they played against Sydney, they will beat Gold Coast. They will win this game because there's
Handily,
just so much skill and firepower on this team when they play at their top.
Mm-hmm.
Butters is out with a little bit of a hyperextended knee. He'll be out for a couple of weeks. How will that kind of handle? Does Boak should come back in? So there's your even swamp for Butters. Boak will come in. He's not the same player as Butters, but he brings in a lot of things. I just like Port here. I just think Port has just enough. Stewie Doo, I love you, man. I really love what you're doing. I just think you're running into a team that shouldn't be 12th. They should not be 12th on the roster. A absolute shithouse first 5 games of the season really kind of hurt them.
To say the
And
least.
they're paying for it right now. Port wins this one, but Gold Coast is gonna be competitive. They're gonna be in this. This is another. I'm so many of these games I think are going to come down to the fourth quarter. This is going to be an elite round of footy if it turns out the way I think it could be. That this is a Gold Coast is going to be in this. They're not going to shy away. They're going to get after it. Stewie Doo is not going to let this team come in and roll over.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to come in and get after it. Whoever loses this one, unfortunately, I think their final season is over. They are done. Put a line through them. It's over.
Mm.
But the winner may put themselves with that jumping board into the finals. We'll have to see, especially if it's Port, because this gives them another win against a top 12 side with a chance to get themselves some positive momentum going at the end of the year. I'm going to tip Port on this one, but this could be another dandy.
Man, it is going to be a hell of a round to look forward to. If round 14 wasn't crazy, round 15 is going to get absolutely absurdly wild.